Hello everyone and welcome to another video. So today we're back in the laundry room with my dryer. In fact, I've already had to repair this 3 separate times in the past for various different failures. If you want to see any of those videos or those problems, feel free to check out these over here. In one of them, one time this thing failed because the heating element broke. The second time it failed because the belt that turns the dryer drum failed. And then the third time it failed because the heating wire assembly touched the outer housing of the heating box and caused a short. So now we're in here today for the 4th problem that I've had with this dryer, and I wanted to share it with you. So notice that the dryer is already partially disassembled because in one of these other videos I already talked about the disassembly and how to get it to this state. So I will leave a link in the description below if you want to see just the disassembly process to get here. But I'll assume you've gone ahead and seen that, or at least you know how to get this dryer taken apart. And if so, why don't we move on and actually diagnose what's going on with the dryer this time. Okay, so here's what's happening this time. The symptoms was I would put a load in the dryer of wet clothes. I would set it to my cycle, I would hit go, and the dryer, it would actually turn, it would blow air, all that kind of stuff. But when the cycle finishes, you open the door and the clothes are just wet and cold. So the dryer was cycling, but it was not actually heating anything up. So that led me to disassemble this and basically get out this heating box unit. This is where we saw failures before. So the first thing we're going to want to check are some of those same failures we saw last time. So if you remember, in some of these other cases, it's very common that this heating element inside here, that could break, right? That failed on me one time already, so it failed. So let's just double check to make sure that it is still good. So I've got my ohm meter out here set to measure continuity. So let me see if there's continuity between the heating elements. So yeah, there you go, right? It measures that there's, I don't know, 10 ohms of resistance between, so that makes sense. So the heating element is good, right? It is not broken. Another failure that I had one time was that one edge of this heating element was touching the housing and basically causing a short to ground. So let's double check that. So I'm going to just put one lead of my ohm meter on the heating element and one to the body. And yes, that is infinite resistance, or it's basically saying that there is not an electrical connection between the heating element and the housing. That is exactly what we want to see. So at this point, we know the heating element is good. There's nothing wrong with the heating element. Now, let's move a little bit further down. There's a couple of other components / sensors over here. Again, I'm not an expert, but I believe this here is a high limit thermostat. So let me go ahead and check electrical continuity between this and this. And as you can see on the ohm meter, can you take a picture of the ohm meter right there? There you go, right? We see that there's no resistance or very low resistance, but it's basically not an open circuit here, right? So I think this component is good, okay? Let's move on down a little bit further. This, I believe, is the thermal fuse attached to this entire assembly. Let's do the exact same thing. And in fact, I'll move this ohm meter down so hopefully you can see both of them at the same time. This is not going to stand. Let's try this. Okay, so now I'm going to connect here and here, and uh-oh, look at that ohm meter. Can you get a shot of the ohm meter screen? Can you see that the ohm meter is reading overload? Yeah, right? So here's the problem, I believe. I believe this fuse has blown, okay? So this fuse, in fact, I'll show you up in the side of the screen here, a close-up of the components of what this is doing. And you'll see the identifiers and the numbers. So this guy, I think, is blown. So what I went ahead and did is I went and ordered a replacement. So this is, I believe, the same component, and if you check this one, let me go ahead and put the electrical leads on this component, and now if you look at the ohm meter, aha, look at that. There is a closed circuit now at this point. So what I think we've proven here is that this existing thermal fuse, I believe, is dead, right? It's blown. So I think what we want to do is remove this bad blown fuse, replace it with the good one, and see if that fixes the problem. So first things first is let's go ahead and get this guy off of the this heater box assembly, which should just be 2 screws to pull this entire assembly off. And then unfortunately, they have riveted this thermal fuse to this assembly. So we're going to have to go ahead and drill out these rivets to get this part off of the bracket. So let's take the bracket off of the housing, and then let's head over to the garage and find a way to drill out these 2 rivets. All right, so I think we've got that guy drilled out, so the rivets are out, so this old part can come off of the bracket. So we'll get rid of that old fuse, and let's get the new fuse here, and we're just gonna sit them on, and that looks like a pretty nice, perfect fit. Now what we gotta do is get some new pop rivets, and we're just gonna go ahead and put that pop rivet in right there. That looks to be about right. Okay. Let's get our rivet puller, and we are going to try to rivet this guy on in the same fashion that he came off. So let's squeeze. Let's give it one more squeeze, and then see if it's going to pop. And again, with these pop rivets, you got to make sure you don't lose the part. There we go, pop. There we go. That's one side. And let's just do the other side, and then we'll be done. All right, so we've got the fuse riveted back onto the bracket. So now we just gotta put it back onto the heater housing, and we can think about taking some next steps. All right, so now we're ready to kind of reinstall, but the other thing we should probably do while we've got everything open is ask ourselves, why did that fuse blow in the first place, right? If it gets too hot, I believe that fuse is supposed to kind of blow and trip and stop everything. So is there some kind of obstruction maybe in the exhaust system that is causing it to overheat? So I've just gone ahead and taken off some of the screws of this guy, and let's take off this and maybe do a little bit of maintenance. Oh, I forgot we got to take this guy out, but yeah, there you go. I mean, maybe I'll clean this out while I'm at it, and again, make sure that the exhaust system, everything is clear, and I'll go out and look at the vent hose as well, make sure that's not obstructed. Basically, just making sure that the dryer has a way to vent all of that hot air so the fuse doesn't blow again in the future. All right, here we are, all assembled again. So again, if you want to see how to reassemble it, check out the original video. I've got the entire disassembly, assembly, process outline there, but otherwise I think we're ready to test this. So let's go ahead, let's turn this guy on. Okay, and yeah, sure, just a normal, and let's go ahead and hit start. Okay, there it goes, and let's come back in a couple of minutes and see if this is actually getting hot. All right, so it just finished a cycle, so let's go ahead and open this guy up, and yep, that's warm. And just to prove it to you, let's go ahead and hit this with a temperature. It's been cooling for a little bit, but yeah, there we go, 120 degrees Fahrenheit. Yep, that looks like it fixed it. So there you have it. Pretty simple fix. It looked like it was just that thermal fuse that blew out. Again, that was just a really cheap $10 part, and that's a lot better than paying someone to come out here and diagnose it and fix it. And again, this dryer is a little interesting because this is now like the 4th individual different type of fix that I've had to do to keep this thing running. So I think long story short is this guy might not be the most reliable, but at least it seems reasonably easy to do the maintenance yourself and keep it running. So with that being said, I hope you enjoyed the video, and if so, I also hope you'll consider subscribing to the channel. Surprisingly, if you scroll a little ways down and click on that subscribe button, it really does help me make these videos. And remember, the new videos come out every Monday, so hopefully I'll be able to catch you at a future discussion and we can all learn something new together. So until then, I think I'm going to sign off. Talk to you later. Bye!